Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
There's one strategy, one tweak that you can make to your entire tour process that is going to add hundreds of thousands of dollars and, quite frankly, millions of dollars over the duration of your centers. In this week's episode of the Childcare Bridge, I want to talk about the area that center after center after center struggles with. They give this amazing tour. So hopefully you've been listening to and or watching the podcasts over the last couple of weeks. And we talked about how you have to deliver this slam dunk tour. You've got to deliver a tour that is customized to the family, that is pointing out some of the different things that they want to learn more about or what is most important to that family. So you do that tour. You then transition them, and not in an awkward way. You transition them because they know what's coming. They know what's coming because you did an amazing job setting everything up initially. You set up the expectations that, hey, here's where you're going to park, here's where you're going to enter, here's who you're going to ask for. You've asked all those different things. You've set all these different things up. You've got everything dialed. And you go in for the close. But here's the cold hard fact. Not every enrollment is going to close the day of. Now, when I look at things from a statistical standpoint, so we have access to lots and lots of data, like ungodly amounts of data, because we've been in this industry for 12 plus years and have worked with thousands of centers. So we know the average closing rate of a tour the day of. And we know that it also fluctuates based on seasonality. So for example, if your fall enrollment starts as it does in New York, which is typically the first week of September, we know that a tour that's coming in mid to late August has an 85% chance on average of enrolling that same day. 85%. Now the same holds true for other peak times. So let's say you have a cutoff for summer camp and a family is coming in a couple of days or a week before. Also, January, the same day enrollments, that number skyrockets. That's closer to 65 or 70%. If they're looking in January, outside of kind of people that moved, they're historically interested because they're probably changing centers. They didn't love what things were happening. They wanted to get through the holidays and they want to start the new year fresh and make a change. But across all the tours, the average same day closing percentage is about 40 to 45%. Now we have some centers that are extreme outliers in both directions. We have some centers that are located in areas where there's a ton of centers and it's a lot more transient. And those families often are looking at 3, 4, 5, even 10 different centers. And they might only have a 10% average. And then we have other centers on the opposite side where pretty much everyone that comes through and takes a tour and gets moved to the closing table ends up enrolling the same day. Those are also in the minority. Those tend to be highly exclusive centers. They tend to be infant spots where infant spots may not be open on a regular basis. They could be a center where you're the only game in town for 25 miles. But again, those are kind of polar opposites. You've got the low end of the spectrum. You've got this basically 90 to 100%. But the average, again, is about 40%. So if you know that 40% of people ideally are going to be signing up the same day, that leaves 60% that don't. And here is where you are leaving a ridiculous amount of money on the table. And you're making this mistake day after day after day. And this is one of those kind of leakage points. There's a handful of areas across your center that I would deem leakage. So where is profits? Where is money? Where is opportunity just leaking out and just kind of dissipating, and it's gone? It's all sudden gone. The follow-up process after that family walks out of your center is mission critical. Now, it's also mission critical for families that decided to enroll. I would argue that it's just as important, if not more. You would say, well, Michael, why would they already said yes and they handed us a deposit? Buyer's remorse is a huge thing. They might get into the car and say, well, geez, did we make the right decision? We didn't look at a bunch of other centers. We loved it here, but did we make the right choice? So if you anticipate that, and you know that's going to be going through their minds, you take some steps to make sure that you can surprise and delight them. That could be a little gift basket that goes to their house that same day or the next day, a friendly video, text message, a couple of emails that aren't generic, but some things that are a little bit more personal that help with the buyer's remorse process. So that's one area that you need to make sure that you have dialed in. It's not just they give you the deposit and then magically when they're ready to come in, you get them in. Make sure that you're continuing to talk to them and just continue to deliver that A+ level of service. But on those 60% of families that decide to not enroll, knowing that they are going to be in the majority, why are you allowing your team or yourself to basically ignore those people after maybe one or two attempts? So step number one is that you need to make sure that as the tour concludes, and then you have that natural conversation, you present the offer, here's the special offer, here's when the incentive runs out. If they're like, we got to think about it, you try to overcome those objections. Okay, fine. You're going to look at 3 other centers. Question number one that I'm going to ask them is, when can I follow up, and can we get back on the phone on XYZ date and time? Great. Is your lunch hour, does that work best for you? Would you like to do Zoom? Do you want to do just a call? What works best? Okay, great. Friday at noon, I'll be on my lunch hour. A call would be perfect. All right, so first thing you're going to do is you're going to schedule that with them live. You want to make sure that your automation is turned on so they're getting a text message. Great, it's on your calendar. You've got it. I'm going to call you 12 o'clock on Friday. So I've got that down. What else do I need to get you between now and then to help in the process? Is there any other unanswered questions, for example, that we didn't go over? So I want to pull out, is there something else from an objection standpoint that I might have missed? And usually they're going to say, no, I've got everything I need. We just wanted to tour a couple of centers. That usually is the biggest thing, that it's an objection, but it's also typically truthful. The average family is looking at 3 centers. So they're comparing 3 different centers in normally a short time span. Now, with everything, you're going to have some outliers. Outliers in this particular instance would be someone that's pregnant that maybe they're going to want infant care, but we're talking 6 months out. So it's not overly realistic for you to be setting your follow-up on a Friday. But with people like that, and all of the other people that you have this in-between game with, you need to make sure that you have drip sequences, marketing, communication going out on a very regular basis. If I look at, let's say I did a tour on a Monday, they want a conversation on Friday, I'm making sure that within an hour or two of them leaving the tour, they've gotten a text message from me, they've gotten a little video that I'm recording, and if I want to get overly fancy and make it not as complex, I might use AI. Hey there, Tasner family, it was so great getting a chance to meet you. I'm going to put a few things not only in an email to you, but I'm also going to put a fun surprise in the mail to you as well, so make sure you be on the lookout for that. Look forward to connecting with you soon. Now that would be more of a generic one, but if I was doing a quick one-off with my cell phone or a webcam, I'm going to say look forward to talking to you Friday at noon. So they're getting something literally within an hour or two of them walking out the door. Number 2 is I'm putting some kind of surprise and delight. Now, if you've taken my training and you understand what I preach and teach and talk about, we want to surprise and delight throughout the entire process. I want you to have a shock and awe kit, as we call it, When they walk in the door, they get this box. It's got a lot of great stuff in it. Maybe it's something personalized if you really want to take it to a next level. It's not just the enrollment packet and an enrollment folder. Like, it's got some good stuff in there. It's got a coloring book. Again, next level is you have a coloring book that is designed just for your center. We do those all day long. We have a great one that we've designed for our centers, and then we customize it for each center. So ideally, you've got that, and then you also want to have something after the fact as well. And I'm not saying that you need to send them $1,000 gift box or something crazy like that. It's the thought that counts. Is there something maybe $20, $25 that you can put in the mail? Could be a gift card. Could be something food related. It could be some more swag. But check this one out. I love to look at the different routes to get to your center. And I want to spot, is there a bakery or a coffee shop that everyone is going to know about, and get a bunch of gift cards from there. Typically a $20 gift card would suffice. And if you want to negotiate and try and get like $1,000 worth of gift cards for $800, maybe they'll cut you a deal if you're buying a ton of them. And I'm going to put very, very specific language. So I'm going to send them the letter. It's going to be handwritten. And I'm going to say, I also am giving you a gift card, or I'm enclosing a small gift to ABC Bakery. As you bring in little Johnny to our center, it's right on the route so that you can stop by afterwards and grab a coffee or something from the bakery on us. Now, what I'm using there, again, is assumptive languaging. I'm making the assumption that they're enrolling. So instead of saying, I'm including a $20 gift card to ABC Bakery, I'm specifically calling out that when you bring your little Johnny here, after you drop off little Johnny, you can stop by this bakery on the way back. You're planting that seed in their mind. They're already starting to move a little bit closer to the sale. How many centers actually do this? Less than 1%. I can give you a handful of the centers that we've trained this to, including our clients, that we push this. I can tell you the most successful centers that have the best closing rates after they leave do this. So you've sent a text message, a little video, you sent an email, you sent this gift. Now they're getting the gift typically within a day or two. You then put them on an email drip, which is going to continue to answer their different objections. It's going to show case studies. And what it's also doing is it's making them feel like they're already enrolled. You can start to show them, like, here are some of the activities that we did this week. Here's what we have coming up. So they're not just getting, hey, are you ready to enroll? Is now the time? Are you ready to kind of move over the edge to enroll? They're getting more and more really good content that's making them feel like they've already made that decision, that assumptive languaging. Now, the text message game is a little bit challenging between when they leave and then that Friday appointment. So definitely I want to do something right after they leave from the tour, so typically within an hour or two. And then in a perfect world, that gift gets delivered. And then a perfect world, they're getting an email every single day leading up to that appointment at noon. Now, the text message that you could send could either be the day before or a couple hours before, and it's simply reminding, hey, I'm going to call you again at noon. Can you just let me know, does that time still work okay for you? Or is there any reason why you won't be able to attend? So you're trying to just confirm that, but I normally am being cautious on my texting game unless they start engaging with different questions and, can you tell me more about this? Can you send me this? You don't want to seem overbearing. So it's that delicate balance between, like, you don't want to seem desperate or like, hey, I want that enrollment. Like, Michael's telling me to follow up. There's a difference between kind of stalking and following up. Now, if we were having a different conversation and we were talking about leads that were coming in, people that were filling out forms, that's a very different conversation. You should be on those leads like white on rice, multiple text messages and emails and calls and another text and a voice broadcast. And like, that's a very different story to get them in the door and be very aggressive up front. But after they've already taken a tour, they've met you, you got all those other stages that you're going through, make sure they're getting an email every day. Often I'll also ask, hey, I just want to make sure, are you getting our emails? And I might even try and quiz them a little bit of like, hey, did you see our last email? what was the topic again? And I might awkwardly pause. And if they're like, oh, it was on the upcoming, whatever, Christmas thing that you're doing at your center. Like I might try and, instead of just, oh, yeah, I get your emails. Because if I'm going to put a lot of weight on those emails and they're not getting them, they're going to spam, or maybe the husband or the wife, maybe only one of them is getting them. Hey, do you both get our emails? I want to make sure because there's a lot of great stuff in there. I can add you to our email list also right now, make sure you get those. But I tend to put a lot more stock on email after they've taken a tour. But if you're also then hitting them up again with the text, with the video, with a gift, and then a text reminder about the call, and then that call, you're going to 10x the likelihood of them turning into an enrollment. Most centers, when they walk out the door, they're almost like, they're dead to me unless they decide to enroll. If they already took the opportunity to literally walk through your center and spend an hour with you, why would you ghost them after they walk out the door, knowing that at least 60% of families are not going to sign up the day of? Now, after that call, maybe there's some other things that you have to do. If they tell you, we decided to enroll elsewhere, I still put them onto an automated email drip sequence, knowing that typically 20 to 30% of families are not happy with where they decide to go and might end up switching back to my centers. I don't stop even if they give me a hard no. Am I going to text them all the time? Definitely not, but I'm going to continue emailing them and staying in touch. I might send a small Christmas card, for example. I might do a couple of little things during the course of the year, knowing that they very well might end up coming to my center. If I know that I have a 1 in 4 chance. My kids ended up going to different childcare centers personally. We had a decent experience at the first one. We decided to change it up for my other child. Had that other center continued to stay in touch, I probably would have felt a little bit more loyalty. And like, yeah, they want to continue to stay in touch, but they stopped right when we left. Kids went into kindergarten and boom, done, emails completely stopped. Makes absolutely no sense to me. Now, those people that are pregnant, for example, you've got to keep them on a longer sequence. There's going to be more drip content. You can put a small gift in the mail even after they leave, so taking that same approach. You've got to play the long game. You've got to continue emailing. Maybe once a month you send a text message, or every couple of weeks, or as you know that it's getting closer. But it's these fun little surprise and delight things that nobody is doing, but they also don't have the systems and processes to make sure this stuff gets done. So my final push, my final takeaway for you is that none of this is going to happen unless it's designed into customer relationship management software. You're then able to track and hold your team accountable. You need to know that all these things are happening. I want to see the text messages being sent. I want to see the call recordings. I want to know what day things got delivered. I want to see that my team followed up to make sure that they got the small gift that we sent. I want to see email after email after email. I want to see all of that. And I know that if our follow-up game is better than everybody else's, we will enroll better than everybody else. We'll get what I call boomerangs, so maybe somebody that left and then came back, or they went somewhere else and then we brought them back to us because we stayed in touch. People are inherently busy. Look at how distracted you are. If you know that your team is not great at the follow-up, how well do you think your prospects, these families, are going to be with all the different marketing they're getting, not just for a center, but the 10,000 other things? Stay top of mind, stay relevant, surprise and delight with your follow-up, and you will close more enrollments than you ever have closed before. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.